using all the good training I had before I got to Vietnam, and because we were quite well prepared and we were well equipped with all the supplies that we needed. We had a lot of ammunition. We always had helicopters and weapons. We were well prepared, I think. And there's also probably a certain amount of luck. The big factor that was available during the Vietnam War was the helicopter, and we used these for air mobile or air assault operations, and it was a quick way to travel and put troops on the ground. If we got into combat, we could bring more troops in, and we could use our gunships to provide on-site gunfire support. So whenever we had the helicopters, we always had the advantage and always won.
Anyone want to add to that?
Well, from my point of view, survival was a matter of following the training that we had received, paying close attention to where we were, trying to stay alert to the conditions around us, and helping provide support for the fellow Marines to my left and to my right, and they were doing the same. We kind of looked out for each other the whole time. As far as the food was concerned, there were really two different times, when I was at the air base and then when I was out in the field. But in both cases, we had a one warm meal a day, or I should say one hot meal a day, usually in the evening. And then the rest of the time, it was what were called sea rations. This was canned food. We had spaghetti and meatballs, and we had ham and lima beans and beef stew and chicken and dumplings, and I think there were 2 or 3 other kinds.
Ham and eggs.
Oh yeah, ham and eggs, green eggs, by the way. And usually there was a little container of fruit and some coffee, and our day, the little boxes of food came equipped with some chiclets, gum, and some cigarettes, and some toilet tissue, some creamer for the coffee, and a little can opener so you could open the cans, and heating tabs so you could warm up the food if you wanted to. So the food wasn't, I wouldn't call it 5-star quality, but you didn't starve with it. As far as the toilets were concerned, there weren't any. That was a crazy situation. Vietnamese people didn't have toilets. If they needed to use a toilet wherever they were, that's what they did. If they had to go number 1, they just stood on the side of the road and went number 1. And if they needed to go number 2, they went on the side of the road and they went number 2. And people would be walking by, riding their bicycles by. It didn't make a difference. That was the way it was. No toilets, no sanitary sewers, any of those kinds of things. As far as the U.S. military was concerned, if we were at the air base or at our base camp, there was like an outhouse. We called it a latrine. It was just a little building. We could go there and do our bathroom things. But if we were out in the bush, there were no bathrooms, no latrines. So we did what the Vietnamese did, if necessary.
As far as some other sanitation points, when you're out in the field, we didn't shave, we didn't get haircuts, and we didn't change our clothes. We wear the same stuff for a whole operation. So you might be out for 2 or 3 weeks wearing the same clothes. And the only chance you had to clean up, there weren't any showers, of course, out in the jungle. So, but every once in a while you'd come across the stream, and maybe while you were crossing the stream, you could dump down the water and kind of halfway wash the dirt off, you release your face and hands and move on. You're going to get dirty again anyway within a day. For your water, you had to assume that all the water was non-potable. So in other words, it wasn't drinkable water. So whenever we would take water, and it often didn't look very good to begin with, we had purification tablets, and you'd have to put that in your water, shake it up, and then have to wait at least a couple hours before you could drink it. But so we had to purify all the water. That was important because you didn't want to drink the unprotected water and then end up getting sick. then you'd really have some problems. Another item on the food in the Army, in addition to the sea rations, we also had what they called long-range patrol rations, which was basically dehydrated food that you'd have to add water to and let it sit for a little while, and then it was you could eat it. And these were actually better tasting food than the sea rations, but water was hard to come by sometimes. You only had what you were carrying with you, so that then became kind of a conflict in that you're going to drink the water, or you're going to use it for your food, and how much you had. You kind of had to plan your meals appropriately so you could, if you were going to have the long-range patrol rations. I also, serving with a Vietnamese unit, I often, in operations with them, would eat with the Vietnamese officers. There'd be 5 or 6 of us sitting around in a circle, and we would eat the Vietnamese food. In the first couple of days on operation, they'd have meat and fish and some vegetables and so forth, but after a couple of days, then the food started running down, and the longer we stayed, the less food they provided at lunchtime. And I found that I had to take extra sea rations, and after I had lunch with them, I'd have to go eat some sea rations because I just wasn't getting enough food eaten with the Vietnamese. And we used, they gave me a bowl and chopsticks, and the first couple of months there, I provided the lunchtime entertainment for them as they watched me try to learn how to eat with chopsticks and drop my food and so forth. And they would laugh, but they would help me out. They'd put some food in my bowl, pick up some meat and put it in my bowl. So they were helpful, and it took me about 3 months to finally figure out how to use the chopsticks properly.
I was in a combat support unit, so we'd lived on the base. We had a bunk to sleep in with clean sheets and a blanket, and when it was chilly out, didn't have air conditioning or heat, but at least we were out of the rain. We had warm showers, we had toilets, we had a mess hall, we'd get 3 good meals a day. So we had it pretty well made, but I was in the Air Force, and in the Air Force, for every one pilot you see up there flying around with his, up in the sky in the wild blue yonder, there's 100 men behind him making sure that his plane flies. He's got fuel for that plane. He's got food to eat. He gets promoted. He gets paid. Well, I was one of those people that took care of that. So I was pretty well taken care of when I was there.